There's something kind of disturbing about how easily the brain can be tricked. Not by lies that are convincing, but by lies that are repeated. That's the illusory truth effect. The idea that the more often you hear something, the more true it feels, even when it's false. And the scary part is your brain doesn't check for accuracy first. It checks for familiarity. If something sounds familiar, it feels safe. If it feels safe, it feels true. That's it. No deep analysis, no fact-checking, just repetition. I started noticing this in the things I believe about myself. I'm bad at relationships. I always mess things up. I'm behind in life. No one sat me down and proved these things logically. I just heard them, from others, from experiences, from my own inner voice, over and over again. And eventually, they stopped sounding like thoughts and started sounding like facts. That's how the illusory truth effect works. It doesn't convince you loudly. It wears you down quietly. And it's not just personal, it's everywhere. Social media, news, opinions disguised as certainty. Say something enough times and people stop questioning it. They don't ask, is this true? They ask, have I heard this before? And if the answer is yes, the brain relaxes. That's dangerous, because repetition rewards confidence, not correctness. It's why simple slogans spread faster than nuanced truths, why extreme takes feel clearer than complex realities, why misinformation doesn't need to be smart, it just needs to be consistent. And the worst part? You can know about the illusory truth effect and still fall for it. Because this isn't about intelligence. It's about how the brain saves energy. Thinking critically is expensive. Familiarity is cheap. So the mind chooses cheap whenever it can. I've realized that a lot of what I call my beliefs are just things I've heard too many times without stopping to challenge. Not because they're true, but because they're familiar. And once something feels true, you start acting as if it is. Which means repetition doesn't just shape belief, it shapes behavior. It shapes identity. The illusory truth effect isn't just something that happens with fake news or conspiracy theories. It shows up in normal life, quietly. In relationships, you hear the same thing enough times and it starts to feel like a rule. Love is supposed to hurt. People always leave. If they cared, they'd know. You don't question these ideas because they're familiar. They've been repeated by friends, by movies, by past experiences. So when something unhealthy happens, it doesn't feel wrong, it feels expected. That's how patterns repeat. Not because we want them to, but because they feel true. It also shows up in how we talk to ourselves. That inner voice is just repetition on autopilot. If you tell yourself, I'm awkward, long enough, your body starts acting like it. You hesitate, you withdraw, you read rejection into neutral moments. And every time that happens, it reinforces the belief. Now it's not just a thought, it's evidence. That's the trap. The belief creates the behavior creates the proof, and the proof strengthens the belief. A perfect loop. Social media makes this worse. You see the same narratives over and over again. Everyone is successful at 23. If you're not grinding, you're falling behind. Your worth is your productivity. At first, they feel exaggerated. Then they feel normal. Then they feel undeniable. And suddenly, you're anxious without knowing why. Because your sense of reality has been shaped by repetition, not reflection. The most unsettling part is how resistant these beliefs are once they feel true. Facts don't undo them easily. Because you're not arguing with logic, you're arguing with familiarity. That's why someone can show you evidence and you still feel unconvinced. Your brain doesn't want truth, it wants consistency. And consistency feels like safety. So when something challenges a long-held belief, it feels threatening, even if it's freeing. That's why change feels uncomfortable. You're not just letting go of a belief, you're letting go of something familiar.